On day 3 of the symbolic Africa Kwetu trek, the National Resistance Army bush war fighters, including President Museveni, gathered at Bukomero Technical Institute in Chiboga district to narrate to trekkers, mainly youth, about their liberation war experiences. Lieutenant Colonel Paul Nsanga, the coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation in Lwengo district, was one of the bush war veterans whose experience touched many workers assembled at the institute. Lieutenant Colonel Paul Nsanga lost a hand during the war in Chirema, a town many trekkers had previously passed through without taking note of the battle. Under an intensive attack, his team had to decide whether to leave him behind or carry him along. Seriously injured, they picked him up on the orders of Museveni. He was carried along on a makeshift carrier and was later operated on by bush war doctors. During a tumultuous time in the bush, Nsanga said he was captured in 1982, detained in Machinde, commonly known as Go Down, then in Nile Mansion. After managing to escape, he returned to the bush. Another casualty of the fighting was Colonel Johnson Katongole. He lost a finger but said he does not regret his participation in the war. He outlined the formula to the success of the NRA liberation struggle: teamwork, no discrimination, and discipline. On his part, Museveni said the trek is a reminder to the young generation and the elderly veterans of the heroic exertions of the freedom fighters who were doing work for no pay, no reward, just for patriotism. Sweetest smelly blanket. Museveni, pointing at Security Minister General Tumine, said it was at one of the toughest battles at Bukomero that the UPDF Member of Parliament lost his eye.
Then there was also the attack on Bukomero here, where Tumine lost his eye. It was here in Bukomero. They had come to attack Bukomero, but he was injured and lost his eye.
Museveni said at the time the main campaign of the NRA was gun-raising. He added at one time the Tanzanian forces that were fighting along the then government forces attacked one of their camps at Bukomero, a move that completely paralyzed their efforts, forcing them to relocate to distant areas. Museveni and his men underwent miserable nights. At one time, he told the Bazukulu he slept without 2 essential commodities, a toothbrush and a blanket. Later, his friend Anthony Chakabale sacrificed his to their commander. Even though it was filthy, Museveni described it as the sweetest smelly blanket he possessed at the time, drawing wild cheers from his audience on a chilly Monday morning in hilly Chiboga. Museveni said for his dental care, the son of one of the veteran medical personnel in Chiboga donated his, which he had to first boil and sterilize before using. Lieutenant Colonel Pecos Kutesa also talked of the importance of retracing the route. He said it is important for the young people to follow the footsteps of your fathers and grandfathers if the legacy of the Luwero Bush War is to be preserved by the young generation. Day 2 of the symbolic Africa Kwetu trek ended at Kagogo, Bukomero sub-county in Chiboga, where President Museveni pitched a night camp at Christopher Setumba's house in Kagogo. Setumba was killed during the bush war for housing Museveni and other fighters.
Tumwine came with the force and camped near Setumba's place. That's why I slept. And then the Tanzanians who were here came and attacked them. And they got scattered. And that's when Setuba was killed.
Museveni said the trek was just a portion of several operations the NRA executed in the area in preparation for the attack on Kabamba Barracks. Museveni said the operation started on December 22, 1985 from Sebuguzi, involving 1,500 fighters armed and unarmed. I personally oversaw the operation with Salim Saleh, Caleb Akanwanaho, as the operational commander of the force. This was the mobile brigade comprised of the 1st, 3rd and 5th battalions, with a lot of unarmed commandos. During the modern-day foot trail, it was fanfare with supporters dancing, trapped with dried banana leaves, a trend that drew the president to pause the trek and engage in lengthy discussions with the locals and also get time to meet veterans, some of whom were his close friends during the Bush War. The president said the area that the trek has covered, especially Semuto, was the epicenter of the bush war struggle.
This area, Semuto, was the epicenter of the struggle, especially for the year 81, 82.
During the Day 2 tour, Museveni also made a stopover at Chirema Primary School, where he interacted with trekkers to, among other things, re-energize them, boost their morale, and serve breakfast, and resumed the 38-kilometer march to Bukomero. Earlier, about 10 kilometers into the trek, Museveni also made a stopover at Kalege in Nansinda trading centers, where he thanked supporters and veterans for what he described as overwhelming support during the bush war struggle. Power is not for charity. Before getting back on the trek, codenamed Africa Kwetu for the third day, Deputy Government spokesperson Colonel Shaban Bantariza cautioned the youth against what he described as playing with peace and stability. Some of the people who want to take over from us do not know what power is. Power is not a charity to be given to anyone who wants to use it, he said in the morning lecture. The power that is in the NRM now is very precious power. It is something we paid a high price for. We, the NRM, are not the first political entity in Uganda to take over power, he added. There were others before us, but how did they use it? I will deal with the drug theft. Meanwhile, upon embarking on the trek, Museveni made his first stopover at a point around 300 meters from Busomero Technical Institute in Kagogo village, where he greeted veterans and also explained his 6 points, which he believes will turn around the lives of families within the bushwalk corridor and across the country. The president singled out the need to embrace Operation Wealth Creation, believing in God, consolidation of peace, fighting for land rights for Bibanja owners, providing their views on the universal primary education, and the need to fight some doctors who, he said, steal drugs from government health facilities and use blackmail to stop people from demanding for these drugs. Doctors steal drugs and then blackmail you that if you report them, they will not treat you. I am going to deal with these doctors who steal drugs. I will spy on them and deal with them, Museveni told veterans, saying the challenge of drug stockouts within government health facilities, especially within rural areas, is to be dealt with decisively. Museveni's warning to doctors was prompted by complaints from veterans that government drug supplies are diverted by health officials to their private clinics. The president said the trek has also got another purpose of mobilization, which he said has helped him bond with veterans. Here we are remembering but also bonding. That is why the walk has turned into a mobilization tour, Museveni said, underscoring that he's using the trek to find out various challenges that people face, which he said NRM will distill and find solutions for. Within Chiboga district, Museveni led the trekkers to a grueling and nerve-wracking climb of Katera Hill, a grueling exercise that exhausted majority of the youth. As the trek continues, New Vision TV will continue bringing you the updates of the symbolic Africa Kwetu trek. Story by David Ilumu and Joseph Kiza for New Vision TV.